So, as we move on into our last topic of resources, continue to think about the way that these processes interact with each other and how they affect you and how you affect them. Ocean resources is a bit of a complex, esoteric concept if you think about it in any depth more than fish. What types of resources do we get from the ocean? Fish is a good place to start. Anyone have any other ideas of things that we get from the ocean?
Seaweed.
Seaweed. Some people eat seaweed.
Climate control.
Climate control. That's a really good point. We can monetize or calculate the amount of money we get from things like seaweed or fish. But how do you calculate the benefits of the ocean absorbing tons of CO2 from the atmosphere? It's a hard thing. Are there other resources that fit either of those categories, either ones that we can quantify and put money value on, or ones that are just kind of beneficial?
Salt.
Mm-hmm. Salt. There are certain ways to get salt water by evaporating, or to get salt by evaporating seawater, yeah. How about things like...
Rain.
Rain! Another unquantifiable one. If the ocean gets messed up, rain changes. And that's something that we can't really put a price tag on. How about things like gas and oil? Most gas and oil fields are off the coast on continental shelves. How about things like tourism? How about stuff like minerals? There are a number of minerals and other resources that we get directly from the ocean crust or the ocean itself. In terms of environmental protection, if you have a mangrove forest and you have a storm that slams into your coast, that mangrove forest is going to take a lot of the force out of that storm. So we have all these types of interactions that we get in a positive way from the ocean, whether some of them are monetizable or not. Renewable energy, things like tidal or wave energy are another great example. The entire ocean is arrayed with cables that help us communicate at the speed of light, essentially. All of these resources that we depend on the ocean for. But we are not the first people in history to understand that the ocean benefits us in a lot of positive ways. People as far back as piratey times understood a lot about the fish of the sea. And look at this, we've got a choir right here. Why don't we just sing a little sea shanty, shan't we? So, I'll sing the chorus, and we'll repeat it a couple times until we got it. And then whenever I point to you, we can sing the song together. Come blow, ye winds westerly, westerly blow. We're bound for the southward, so steady we go. Sing with me. Come blow, ye winds westerly, westerly blow. We're bound for the southward, so steady we go. Let's try it again. Come blow, ye winds westerly, westerly blow. We're bound for the southward, so steady we go. Here we go. Come all ye bold fishermen, listen to me as I sing you a song of the fish of the sea. Come blow, ye winds westerly, westerly blow. We're bound for the southward, so steady we go. First comes the shark with his 3 rows of teeth. He flops up on the foreyard and takes a snug reef. Along comes the swordfish, the scourge of the sea. The order he gives is take helms a-lee. Next comes the porpoise with his sharp snout. He jumps up on the bridge and yells, ready about. Come blow, ye winds westerly, westerly blow. We're bound for the southward, so steady we go. Next comes the whale, the largest of all, singing out from the bridge, hull taut mainsail haul. Having accomplished these wonderful feats, the blackfish sings out next, now raise tacks and sheets. Then comes the mackerel with his striped back. He flopped up on the bridge and yelled, board the main tack. Come blow, ye winds westerly, westerly blow. We're bound for the southward, so steady we go. Next comes the catfish with his chuckle head, coming out from the main chains for a heave of the lead. Then comes the flounder, quite fresh from the ground, crying, "Damn your eyes, chucklehead, mind where you sound." And along came the dolphin, flapping his tail, and he yelled for the boatswain to reef the mainsail. "Come blow, ye winds westerly, westerly blow, we're bound for the southward, so steady we go." Up jumps the fisherman, stalwart and grim, and with his big net he scoops them all in. "Come blow, ye winds westerly, westerly blow, we're bound for the southward, so steady we go." Good job. Looking at some of the ways that these fisheries have changed throughout history is a very illuminating course of study. This is a series of pictures of the trophy-winning fish off of the Florida Keys in the years 1957, 1983, and 2008. You'll probably be able to guess which is which picture. In 1957, the fish that people were catching were bigger than the people who were catching them. You look just a couple decades later, and you see a trend. What's happening to the largest fish? Well, if year after year you keep taking the biggest fish off the reef and not giving them time to grow back, you're doing what's called reducing the parental biomass. That's the amount of fish of a breeding age that are being taken away. Looking at 2008 now, the catch is pitiful. And this is a trend that extends throughout a number of different species all across the ocean. Bluefin tuna in the 60s, we were able to collect 600,000 tons of bluefin tuna. Looking again at the parental biomass of this catch, a number of decades later, we're down to a mere fraction of that. And this is something that has perpetuated, again, because of the policies that are enacted that are trying to protect or that are either meant to exploit these fisheries. But it doesn't all come down to governmental policies and large corporations deciding the fate of the ocean. There are a lot of things that we can do on a personal level. Seafood Watch is an important organization that does an excellent job of monitoring what types of ocean resources are sustainable and good to eat. So there are personal choices along with the large policy governmental choices. And with that, I have another song. But don't worry, you won't have to sing this one. It's rather depressing, so I'll let my friend Sad Salmon sing it. Blobfish, jello of the sea, floats upon the bottom, lazy as can be. Hardly has a muscle, but doesn't seem to mind. It eats what floats into its mouth, crustaceans and some brine. And yes, it has a saggy look, perhaps it's feeling down. For thanks to fishing trawlers, soon this fish won't be around. Thanks, Sad Salmon. And again, looking at the reasons for fish population decrease across the globe, we're looking at things like fishing trawlers, long-line fishing, irresponsible practices that are practiced all throughout the ocean. Particularly, I should mention there are sustainable alternatives to most of these resources, except shrimp. I can't say that for certain, but I have yet to hear of a sustainable and environmentally conscious way to harvest shrimp, both farmed and wild-caught shrimp. A way to think about the devastation that happens here is cutting down the rainforest to collect grasshoppers. But there are, in general, healthy and environmentally conscious alternatives to most ocean fisheries. Moving on from blobby fish, let's take a look at blobby maps. The reason this map is so blobby is because it includes a boundary of 200 nautical miles off the coast of each ocean-bounding nation. Why 200 nautical miles? This is the exclusive economic zone of these countries. The exclusive economic zone is where these countries control policies about fishing and use of fuels in their own national waters. But of course, it's slightly more complicated than that. Anytime you have some sort of national debates or arguments about who owns what, you get into all sorts of problems. And of course, these only are your territory if you have the power to defend them. Let me use an example off the coast of Somalia. For centuries, local Somalian people along the coast have used fishing as their main source of livelihood and income. Well, with advanced technology coming to plenty of other countries, the fishing vessels you see off the Somalian coast tend to be not from Somalia, but from China, Japan, Taiwan, and plenty of other countries, which are out-competing the local Somalian fishermen. With no way to compete or to survive, they're turning to other occupations. Just as a hint, I'll remind you, we just sang a pirate's shanty. Looking at one of the most complex examples of exclusive economic zone interactions and law of the sea agreements, it's a fun exercise to take a look at the South China Sea. Now, what happens if you go 200 kilometers off the coast of Vietnam? Well, it just so happens that you overlap with nautical miles off the coast of Brunei, or Malaysia, or the Philippines. And again, not every country agrees to these same rules. China tends to claim all the way down through the bottom of the South China Sea. Looking at some of these gas and oil fields, you might guess why. So it's all complicated. It's always under debate, it's always dynamic, it's always moving. But that means that there's always hope. There's always ways to impact on a local and governmental level how these fisheries and how these waters are being managed and how people are interacting with them.